allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Acceptance of the agenda. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the January 8th, 2024 meeting agenda as amended. I'd like to add the employment contracts for Mary Randazzo and Jason Perkins. We'll add that under the report of the superintendent.
Support.
Do we have those contracts?
Yes, I do. Pass them out. We have roll call vote.
We have discussion. So with the contracts, adding them to the agenda, what is the reason that it was amended and these weren't set ahead of time for us to review?
I can answer that. We'll start with the first one. First, we're on a break, okay? But second of all, the candidate was, we told the candidate to get to us on Friday. The board agenda came out on Thursday, so candidate accepted on Friday. In terms of, and that would be Jason Perkins. In terms of Mary Randazzo, she's been operating on a bookkeeper contract. And we wanted to make certain that the new school year that was addressed properly because she's been serving as the administrative assistant to the Director of Special Services. So we had to make the adjustment actually to her salary as well because she was operating on a bookkeeper salary. We moved her where she's commensurate with the other administrative assistants. So we got that done today as well. Thank you.
Do we have any copies of either of these contracts? I see Mary's is signed. Can we get a signature on the other as we agreed?
This is there as well.
It's not like signed. It is. Oh, is it? Okay, I apologize. All right. Will we have time to review this then before?
It'll be going under the superintendent's report. Can we get a roll call vote, please? Wester, supported by Davis.
Davis?
Yes.
Piles, no. Kennard?
Yes.
Laster?
Yes.
McCarthy?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. We're at our public comment session. Do you have any public comments?
Yes,
Madam Secretary?
Rita Hampton? Thank you, Eve.
Good evening and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
For the last 2 years, I started the New Year's asking why was Dr. Edmondson fired? No answer. Therefore, after 20-hour plane ride and 3 weeks of thinking over the Christmas vacation, it is, and looking over past board meetings, YouTube, starting from September 27, 2021, I've concluded that there was nothing that he did that would signify that he needed to be terminated. What I want is for the board to give him a contract. But if you want to move the district ahead, like everybody says, that's becoming the mantra, let's give him what he needs. And he deserves it because he was terminated for no reason. This disrupted him professionally and personally. The day he returned, only one board member apologized, and that was Trustee Portia Laster. The citizens came out to welcome him back. No one citizen has come out to push back and say, why is he back? Or why did he return? This speaks volumes. Remember what the newspaper said. This was unprecedented that a superintendent returns. School board election will be here before we know it. That's where my focus will be. We need to get 3 candidates that will do the right thing. I want us to pay attention and go back to last February when Ms. Bell's FOIA reports on reimbursements and board costs and having 9 lawyers at one time. The money could have been spent for students. Let us not develop amnesia. I am saying the citizens of Romulus deserve better than what we have. We have the leadership. Let us elect people who will give him the support he needs to push forward the vision he has outlined for us in Romulus. Our best students are out there in Woodhaven and everywhere else. Let them come home. Give them something to come home. We will be stabilized. And I'll tell you what I suspect what happened, but I'll let that get closer to the election. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hampton. That's all the forms we have.
Thank you. Next, we have our presentation for our strategic planning presentation by Dr. Randy Liepa. Good evening.
How are y'all today?
Good, how are you?
See if I can get this, yep, I think we got it working. So I appreciate the opportunity to come and spend some time with you tonight. My name is Randy Liepa. I'm a consultant with the Michigan Leadership Institute, but have been around schools for a long, long time. Was a school superintendent for 18 years. Retired 2 years ago. I was the Wayne County ISD superintendent at that point in time. Prior to that, I was the superintendent of Livonia for 12 years. I actually have been connected with Romulus for a long, long time, going back to the superintendencies of Bill Bedell and Joel Carr. If those names ring a bell to anybody, that's a long, long time ago. Back in the 80s when I was the assistant superintendent for Wayne Westland School. And so I have gotten to know the community and the school system over a long period of time. So happy in any way that I possibly can to support the school district as it's thinking about doing strategic planning work. And so what I'd like to do today, if that's okay, is just walk through a little bit about what strategic planning is, what the benefits of it are, what that potentially looks like, and then talk a little bit about, how you may want to do it. Because one thing I've learned, I've done this now in multiple school systems, along with when I was a superintendent doing it in my local school districts, and that is it looks different for every single community. Everybody's in a different place in their planning process, and so one of the things that we like to do is to make sure that we tailor the strategic planning process to the individual school district and what their needs are. And so if you don't have any questions before I jump into that, I'll hop right into the presentation. Okay. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about the benefits and then talk about the key components of what a strategic plan is. And so what can a strategic planning process do for the organization? Number one, it really provides an opportunity for you to communicate your purpose, which is your mission and vision. We'll talk a little bit about what mission and vision is in a second, to your stakeholders. It informs strategy development, and it helps to support goal development to make sure that you're moving towards that strategy that you've outlined in your strategic plan. And so these are pretty important components as it relates to a school system, their operation, and how they're moving forward. As you all know, and as I know working with school systems for a long, long time, there are 1,000 things coming into all of you and in every single school district. There are so many different ideas that people have as it relates to what should we be doing, what should be our next steps, what should we be focused on. And so that's really what the strategic plan allows you to do, is to garner feedback, think about where you're at and where you want to go, and then chart that course. So when all of those things are coming at you, you built that foundation. And so again, it provides clarity to your work. It helps provide focus. And if it's a shared process, if you get feedback from people in this process, hopefully then people will feel a shared ownership in the strategic plan. And importantly, it builds a foundation for everything that you do. And so you have a lot of different requirements that you have to do for the state and for the federal government, et cetera. But you you really want to have that foundation that you can reach to say, yeah, this is really what we're focused on right now, what we're doing, and then all the other pieces should fit into that. One of the things we like to talk about with strategic planning is that we do not want this to be just another thing to do. So often we have a lot of ideas, lists, things that people want us to focus on. We don't want it just to be another task for the school system, but really be a foundation for the school system as it's trying to move forward. So what is the strategic planning process? It's relatively simple. It is basically the school system setting a mission for itself, setting a vision for its future, and then developing goals to achieve its mission and vision. That is basically the components of a strategic plan. And so we'll talk about mission first. And so what does a mission do for an organization? It basically outlines its reason for being. And so it really should answer those questions. This is who we are, this is what we value, this is what we do. That's what you would look for in a good mission statement. And I won't spend a ton of time with these today, but you have with you a handout that I've provided with mission statements, both from school systems and actually from different organizations, different corporations, et cetera, that you can look at just to get a flavor, because some of these places you'll be familiar with. So IKEA. IKEA, we all know IKEA, it's just down the road, to create a better everyday life for the many people. Interesting mission that they have, and a lot broader than we're just going to have really good furniture for people. And so that just gives you a little flavor for what a mission looks like, but what those mission statements should do is they should answer these questions. Who are we? What do we do? What do we value? So that's what you do when you build a mission statement. Then next, what you want to do is you want to set a vision. So what's the difference between the vision? People always ask me, well, you have a mission statement, you have a vision statement. What is the difference? The vision, you really want that vision statement to be aspirational, and you want it to be future-oriented. And so this is really answering the question, who do we want to be? What do we want to become? And so your mission is, yeah, this is who we are, this is what we do, but where are we going? Where are we going? That's what people always say, what's your vision? What's your vision? This is what a vision does for an organization, is it helps us plant this picture in regards to, okay, where are we going? And again, I provided just examples for you that you can look at your convenience, both school district vision statements and then also organizational mission statements. And so it gives you a little flavor for how that feels a little different than what a mission statement is. And so, for example, Southwest, which you can take it for what you want, but they're right down the road, right? Southwest wants to be the world's most lobby, most efficient, and most profitable airline, okay? So whether you agree or not, that's what they want to be. That's where they are going. That's the picture that they've planted for themselves about where they want to go. And so that's what a mission, that's what the vision does to the organization. So again, mission, this is who we are, this is what we do. Vision, where do we want to go? And so an organization, when they're building this vision statement, actually, there's a variety of ways that you could look at doing this, and this would be something when we start the planning process that we would get into to start talking about, okay, well, what do we want this to look like, and how do we want this to be set up? The last that you have are the goals. So if you know who you are, and if you know where you want to go, how are you going to get there? And so that's what the goals does for an organization. It basically, that defines the outcomes necessary to meet your vision of the organization. It helps you to gauge your degree of success. And we always like to talk about goals as being measurable, being incremental. That's really important, because sometimes people will set a goal and it's really a goal that can't be achieved for quite a period of time. So you want to have incremental goals in between, so you can see progress and people can feel like you're moving forward and you're making progress towards that vision. And again, you want to have it tied to the desired vision. If this is where you want to go, let's set the goals to get there. Does that make sense to everybody? I mean, those are the key components. And again, I just provide an example, but if a vision statement for the organization was that we want to provide a safe, joyful, welcoming environment, one of the things you would do goals and say, okay, if this is what we want to do, a goal potentially would then be annually, we're going to complete a student perception survey, review results, identify areas we'd like to see improvement, target percentage of growth, right? So that would be a goal to help saying that we're going to live this vision of having a safe, joyful, welcoming environment.
So when we're developing the strategic plan and we're looking long-term, and then we're setting goals, as we make progress toward achieving that, do the goals get updated and changed?
Correct, yes, and so when you build that strategic plan, you'll revisit the mission and the vision every 3, 5, 7 years, depending on where you're at in the process. And so you'll take a look and sort of step back and say, is this still who we are? Is this still where we're going? But the goals are really, you're gonna set annual goals at that point in time, and then see where you're at in each one of those goals in regards to moving you towards that picture that you created for yourself. Okay, and so I'll talk a little bit now, I mean, those are really the main components, so I wanna just talk a little bit about how we would actually go about, how you would potentially go about being able to do this. And so there are certain things that you wanna do. First and foremost, is you wanna communicate to people, again, what is a strategic plan? I just explained mission, vision, goals. You wanna let people know. It's one thing for us all to know collectively, right? But the staff need to know, because it's gonna be a vision for everybody. And so the staff need to understand what these components are. Why are we doing this? Again, that's really important to say, okay, well, my gosh, there's 500 things coming at us. We really need to focus. We want to provide clarity to our work. We want to make sure that we've got specific things that are important to us that we've identified collectively that we're going to work on. And so you need to communicate that also. Why are we doing this and what are the benefits? And then this varies from organization to organization, but then determining what kind of participation you want in that process to build ownership with the staff and community. So there's a variety of ways to do this, and really this would lead into the next steps if this is something that you want to pursue. And that would be to sit down and have some planning time. And you guys would determine for me who you'd want to be part of those initial planning sessions. You know, typically it's the district administration, it's the superintendent. Sometimes it is board members that are involved. But really to set up sort of the big picture, let's start. Okay, how are we gonna do this? Are we gonna have a steering committee to help us do this work? Do we already have a setting district committee that's in place that might be able to take on this work? Where does it best sit within the organization? Who's gonna help to sort of facilitate this process as it relates to providing that initial sort of leadership as it relates to building the mission, vision, and the goals. And then at that point in time, we would sit down and in that planning session, we would say, okay, we're gonna have, for example, we're going to have a steering committee. Okay, well, what do you want the steering committee to do? Every district, as I mentioned, is in a different place with this. And so I go to do work in some school districts, and they did their mission and a vision statement like 2 years ago. And they really wanted to focus on strategic planning, wanted to make sure that they just needed to sort of revisit where the mission and vision were, sort of take a look at it to see if it still fit, and they wanted to focus on goals. Other places, it's like, nope, this is our chance really to start anew on this, and we want to collectively start and say, what is our vision, our mission, and what is our vision? And that's a good chunk of the work to begin with, just to identify and to define what the mission and the vision of the organization is. So that's one of the things we would do in a planning session, is we would sit down and say, okay, well, where are you at right now? Do you even have a mission and vision statement? How old is it? Does it need to be revisited? Does it need to be recreated? Do we need to start anew? But you would start to build those three components based on where you're at and what makes the most sense. And then also start to determine ways, depending on your interest and level of getting an input, processes to actually go out and talk to stakeholders, staff, community members, et cetera, to actually talk to them about, okay, if it's a shared vision, right, what is your vision? What do you see for the school district? And we have processes to do all that. So we have ways to sit down and sort of break this down and ask some key questions. And what happens from that is we basically, themes will rise to the top, after you talk to people in regards to what's important to this community, this school district, and what it, where, you know, what it's, what it believes its mission is, and where it believes it's going with the vision. And then from there, we start working on the goals. So that's basically the process. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Latham?
When do we get started? Oh, sorry.
Really, it's, like I said, every school, I really do this work, and I've done it in several school systems now. In fact, I have multiple clients that are in the process of this right now, at different stages of it. It's up to you. If you guys want me to meet with Ben next week, I'll meet with Ben next week. If you want me to say, well, this is a spring project, then I'll say, hey, I'll come back in the spring. I actually had a school system I'm going to on Wednesday, out on the west side of the state. And they had some things happen in their school district, and they just needed to slow down the process for a couple of months. I said, it is your process, it is not my process, you're not on my timeline. So fortunately, because I just do this work part-time, I've got a lot of flexibility, and so I will build this around what you want. So I could start literally as soon as next week.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yesterday?
I'm not starting tonight. There's a big game on tonight. Everybody's aware of that.
Right.
But there's a big game on tonight.
Not really.
Well, it depends. I guess it depends, right?
Madam Chair, I have a question. So thank you for that presentation and giving us an overview of what to expect and how this works. My question is regarding the chicken or the egg, right? So you talked about starting with a small group and finding out, what we need, where we want to go, how do we know, like, whether we start there or start with feedback? Because if we're making that decision, but we're not already doing it correctly, do we need feedback to see where the community, where the staff thinks we need to go, and then from that, the original team come up with direction?
Yeah, I think after a first conversation, really with your leadership team, I'll have a pretty good handle on where you're at with the existing process. When's the last time you looked at this? When's the last time you reviewed it? I've got to guess that maybe you want to start at pretty much from hearing, maybe at the start, and really
Yes.
build a shared mission and vision statement with your stakeholders. And so, again, some places, well, we just did that 2 years ago, and we're in a pretty good place there. We do really want to focus on the goals, because we think we need help with the goals, and we're not very focused with our goals.
Okay.
Other places are, no, it's a good time to refresh. And I tell you what I've seen anyways is, post-COVID, people are like, okay, we wanna take a new look at this again. School is different now. We've been through an awful lot collectively. There's been, sometimes there's changeover in leadership or in school boards, et cetera. And so maybe your staff. And so those things all come to play. But I found that, it seems like post-COVID, people want to sort of take a fresh look at things again. So that's been the norm. But it really would be, if I sat down with you and you said, oh my gosh, here's our current vision and mission statement, and we worked on this 2 years ago, but we need a lot of community feedback in regards to setting the goals, then that's where we can start. I'm guessing that's not where you're at.
No.
Yeah, no, that's rhetorical.
Reality is, we've had a,
I do look at your
yeah.
website and see if I can find your mission and vision statement, which often I can find for school districts.
We've had a lot of turnover, a lot of start and stop, so we need a fresh start. But again, I think to be credible to our staff and community, we need to see, like, from where they've been watching, where we are now and where we need to be.
Yeah, and so what happens in doing this process, even with setting, having a committee do the work, because, again, I've done this work in a lot of places, and I've been around schools for a long time, right? There's always this anxiety about, behind closed doors, 5 people are making the plan, and et cetera. I've seen this in other places.
Right.
I'm not talking about here. I'm saying what I've seen over time. And so I really like, even if you have a committee that's working on this, or a smaller group of staff, that their job really is to just to go out and be the facilitators to garner the feedback, but not be the ones to make the ultimate decisions. And so, again, I've seen these committees anywhere from 5 to 25. Could be 25 people, you could have some teachers on there, some administrators on there, some parents on there, a couple of students on there. But again, even if you have 25, this is just me talking now, I like them to be, again, the conduits, because even for 25 people, if you have 4 parents on there, are they the voice of every parent in the
Right.
community? Right? And so, yes, they're on there, they're providing that voice in the overall process, just in getting the work done, but really, there are processes that we typically use to go out, both survey, we do electronic surveys, you do focus groups, you have meetings where you have people come. You get a little bit different type of feedback with focus group meetings, a little bit more rich feedback. So you can do a combination of both of those, and you can start to ask a handful of very clear questions. And even with open-ended questions, you'd be surprised how, I'll say, the cream rises to the top. That there are themes that will be in this community that people want to focus on, and it varies from community to community. It really does. Some places it's a finance issue, but this is our big focus. Some places it has to do with some instructional issues. Some may be facilities. And so every place is different, but the issues typically will rise up to the top in regards to what people want to focus on. Where do we want to go? That's I would say out of the 3 components, that's always the biggest thing for me. Do we have a picture of where we want to go? Because then we can start talking about how we're going to get there.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? Thank you again for the presentation, and we look forward to you meeting with Dr. Edmondson here in the near future so we can get this ball rolling.
You're the one. Right? Am I right?
That's right.
You
Am
are
I right?
correct.
Eve, you hold the keys. Let's get it going.
So if we're able to get a hold of me through Dr. Edmondson, we'll go ahead and if you're ready, we'll get the process started.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the January 8th, 2024 consent agenda as presented. Matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If any member of the board or any citizen requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion of the agenda. A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Education for December 11th, 2023 regular meeting and December 18th, 2023 special meeting. B, approval of bills for payment as submitted by Dr. Maria Gitstinger in the amount of $3,724,175.44. And C, approval of personnel actions as submitted by Human Resources Director Kevin Brock. The employment of Robin Miller, third person for GSRP at Ramos Early Childhood Center. Aaliyah Robinson, special education paraprofessional for Romulus Middle School. And Chantel Bird, kindergarten teacher at Wick Elementary. Support. I have a motion by Wester, supported by Kennard. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Kennard,
Yes.
Piles, yes. Laster,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Wester,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the report of the superintendent. Dr. Edmondson. We're going to do, yep,
The contract.
yep. Can you read the first contract, please? Trustee Kennard.
Okay, is this one for this one?
That's fine.
Okay, doesn't make a difference, okay.
Doesn't make a difference.
Recommended motion Move that the Board of Education approves the contract for Jason Perkins, Director of Operations, effective January the 29th, 2024, at a total cost to the district of $161,000. The rationale is to fill an open position. The budget implications are general fund number 1123259900010000000. And the board have in their board packet the contracts as the exhibits.
Support.
We have a motion by Kennard, supported by Davis. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, may we just have a minute to briefly read this?
Sure.
Thank you.
You're reading it, but I would certainly like to speak on it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Please do.
So Mr. Perkins is here, Mr. Jason Perkins is here with his family. He comes to us with 6 years of experience just in his previous district was Dearborn Heights number 7. We had an interview process. I took part on the first part with all of the candidates. So that's what I normally do. I just want to see who's there. Then I remove myself. So the second round, he was in the first round. I don't vote. I just see. So the second round, he moved to the second round with the cabinet as well as, I believe, 3 or 4 maintenance workers, 2 custodians, 1 board member, and the board member is here, just because we have somebody that's not here. A board member that was here. We've had a community member, so it was very, very comprehensive, and I won't say it was unanimous, but it was very, very close as to who would succeed Bill Garland. We're very excited about him coming here. He has great experience in HVAC. I know I was asked a question like, are we going to save for HVAC? I would expect so, but I would expect a man to come here and give us an opportunity to, give him an opportunity to see what's going on with the district. I know that he's been looking at bills. He met with me. That was the last step, was to meet with me. I took him out to eat, and I talked. I told him about some of the things that I would like to see, but also shared with what I would do to support him in his role as the director. I'm very excited about this gentleman coming here. He needs to work on his handshake, but other than that, we're quite pleased with who he is. So I'm just very excited, and I'm very thankful. If you look at his contract, I will share some things because I had a great input in it. We wanted to, give you the total cost of his contract, which includes, as you know, retirement and insurance benefits, so that's in there. I also wanted to give him a 3-year contract because that's where I am where I am with all people. If we're trying to move this district forward, when I talk to people, I ask them for 3 to 5 years. It's the way we're going to turn this district around. We can't turn it around giving people a 1-year contract. It doesn't make you feel good, okay, at all. Particularly when you come into a district, anyone gets a 1 year, they feel kind of like, wow. I mean, there's no confidence. But so it was me that wanted to do that, and with contracts moving forward, those are things that I would like the board to consider. When we're talking about a strategic plan and things like that, it takes time, and you want people to stay, and you want to let them know that, hey, we got your back, we want you here 3 to 5 years, and then we'll see. So I had a lot to do with that aspect in terms of the length. That's it. I'm excited that he's here. I'm hoping, and naturally, I would hope that we get your support as a board, and then we can introduce him to our community and let him say a few words. That's my hope.
Thank you, Dr. Edmondson. Any other questions?
Madam President, I really don't have any questions, but I just want to make a statement. I know one of the things we as a board have been trying to do, and that is in our board governance meetings, is to have information and documentation before we make these types of decisions. And I would like to say that it has nothing to do with what I'm looking at, but caution the fact that moving into 2024, that we do a better job in bringing it. I know the holidays were amongst us and all those types of things, but moving forward, that we adhere to our board processes and governance, and so that we can be sufficient, effective in adhering to these types of things. That's all I wanted to make the statement on.
Thank you, Trustee Kennard.
So I have a couple questions. One, thank you, Ms. Kennard, for stating that, because what it does is, we talk about no surprises. And, make an effort to submit our questions and be informed ahead of time. And feels very awkward with the candidate here voting no to add something to the agenda for no other reason than we weren't given time to prepare. I know that the board packet came out on Thursday, but we knew in December that we wanted this candidate to start the beginning of January. So at some point, it would have been nice to have this over the weekend and adhere to our commitment of no surprises at the table. I'm looking at the compensation and benefits. I know that we're starting in the middle of the range. We had approved, up to a higher amount for this. I'm just wondering, and I see that we were hitting that within 3 years, but again, it was a thing where, that's why I had submitted the question about, will we be less reliant on that company? I don't want to say the name, the company that is here now that kind of sits around in case something is needed. There should be a cost savings there, because now that we have someone who is an expert in this field, that won't be needed. I'd asked about, will we save on will we be outsourcing HVAC repairs, or is this something that will be done in-house? Those questions were asked not as challenges, but because if we understand the cost savings, it gives the board the flexibility to go on the upper end of this salary, which again, if we're looking to keep people, is what we want to do. And so I just feel like we're in an unfortunate position here, having not had time to review and ask those questions and get the answers. Well, the questions were asked, I'm sorry, not get the answers.
Are you waiting for a response, or?
I'm just
No,
saying,
because
like,
listen, I mean-
and I was the board member that sat in on this
Yes, you
interview,
did.
and I think
Yes,
we
you
have an
did.
excellent candidate, but I think that if the answers would have been provided to the questions that were submitted a while ago, and, and it's been requested, no surprises at the table, and I've adhered to that, but it would have been nice to get answers so that we as a board could have seen this and submitted some more questions. I'm just saying, like,
I know, listen, so I'm going to say, again,
well, I'm
listen.
sorry, Ms. Wester, oh my gosh,
just
but
going to, listen, you asked me the question, so I'm going to answer. You did ask me that question, and I said the candidate needs to get here to be able to say that. I certainly hope that that's not incumbent upon him having to put all the pressure on him to say, you're going to make all the savings. No, you're not. You're not. But he has an expertise, and we let him do his job. I'm certain that he will find places for us to save money. But you can't just come on day one and say, oh, yeah, I'm going to save you money. That doesn't work. It's just not going to work.
So-
Two, let's get to two. The lack of trust plays out at the table when it's always said, well, we have to make this decision. At what point do you trust the process? Do you trust the superintendent? That's rhetorical, so I don't want you to answer that. I don't need a clap either, no disrespect, none to anyone. I appreciate that. And because I don't want it to be problematic. It's
Right.
not me against you.
Absolutely.
The question about it is the holidays, okay? You have to respect that. He has another employer as well. We are not his employee. We are taking a good faith step to ask him and give him the time to make that decision for his family. It's not that, oh, I'm going to go to Romulus. It's such a great place. Actually, it's not. That's what we have to fight, is that people think it's not a great place. So they have to sit and you give them time to make that decision. The board did know about this, okay? You knew about the interviews. We had somebody on the team to say it. We knew who the candidate was. The process, when I say the trust in the process, you got to trust the process. If you have 12 people there who say this is the candidate that we want, my question is that any different than a strategic plan if 12 people come and say this is what we want, we do something different? That's a good question. That's rhetorical too. They're very similar, okay? I appreciate, I'm trying to get you information. Nobody's playing a game here. Not at all, and this comes up all the time. It was the holiday as well. We knew this was coming. Everybody knew this was coming, but you have to work out the contract. You have an HR director who respectfully is on vacation, who gave up his time to try to meet the timelines for me, okay? He does have some time to start, on the 24th. But I will say this, and no disrespect to anybody here, having been in this business for a while with me, when a candidate does come, it's okay. He already met with the superintendent. That's usually it. Once you meet with the superintendent, your board is like, we got you. Okay, I'm never up here trying to create any problems for you or for me. But I also don't like, frankly, for candidates to come. You can blame me if you want to, I'm fine. But when candidates come, you don't want a clown show. You don't. It goes out into the community not to work for our district. I respectfully respond to you. Thank you. I love the way that you handled that and said that to me. I respect that. And same with you. I'm not upset. I just know that this guy knows what he's doing. And I'll state my job on that. This man knows what he's doing. If you just trust, you'll see. You can just, how I always feel, this call to vote. Let's go.
So, Dr. Edmondson, I don't dispute any of that, and because
Say that you are.
because I actually agree wholeheartedly, the reason I submitted those questions is because we have someone with experience. My question is, why aren't we starting at the salary that we approved? Which I would like to make a motion that we amend the motion and start at the 120 that the board approved. That's why I asked for the information.
Can't wait till Monday.
Madam President, Mayor.
Sorry.
Trustee Kennard.
Duly noted.
But, and Dr. Edmondson, and that is why, and that's why I asked when I submit questions that assumptions not be made, but we went into this when the board approved this position, specifically looking for experience, specifically looking to not have to continue outsourcing, specifically not wanting to pay people for sitting
Okay,
around.
I would still like to respect the process of the cabinet and the superintendent. That's all I'm asking. We did it for a reason. We know what we're doing as well. There's
Yeah,
generally a
but-
range, and that needs to be respected for that. It just needs to be respected that there is a committee process, there is me with the cabinet, and there's me as the superintendent making decisions that I think are in the best interests of the district. I don't want to get to the table and be usurped like that.
Well, that is what was done to
President.
us by not having this
I
contract.
disagree.
We could
I
have
disagree.
submitted
There
them.
we go.
Call to
That is
order.
not the case.
Call to order.
That is not the
Trustee
case.
Kennard.
Madam
Call to
President.
order.
The only,
Trustee Kennard.
yes, the only statement I want to make to this is that if the committee, is making this recommendation, although you can have a set max or whatever it costs, whatever, but there's some reason, I feel, based on what I'm hearing here, that this decision at that cost, whatever it is, was made. And to respect to you, Dr. Edmondson, and those who are on the committee, maybe this information can be shared with Trustee Powles. Okay, there seems to be, were you on the committee? Were you part
I
of
was
this?
in an interview, but what I'm saying is, we can trust is verifiable. So it's not a matter of not trust. It's that the board was not given the opportunity to review this, submit questions to you to ask this stuff. So it's like, we're supposed to trust the process,
When
but
have
the
you not
process
asked-
isn't being
When have you not
followed.
asked me questions?
But,
I mean, come on.
Dr.
now.
Edmondson,
I
we're
mean,
supposed to trust the
come on.
process, but we know the process is to
Again,
get information to the
You're-
board
This is, again, you don't
in
have
time to review
You
it.
don't have to do that. You don't have to hit, okay? When we stay in our lane, we don't have these problems. It's when you swerve into somebody else's lane and try to do their job.
Wow.
Yes, it is wow.
Wow.
It is wow.
Because
It
the
is a
job
wow.
is to get stuff to the Board of Education in a timely manner.
You have it in front of
And you keep
you.
committing to that,
You
and you
have it in
ask
front of
me
you.
to, no surprises at the table, and I did
Please
that.
call the vote.
I did
Please
that.
call the vote.
Call a roll call vote, please.
Sorry, who made this motion?
Kennard made the motion.
Kennard.
It was supported by Davis.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Piles, yes. McCarthy.
Yes.
Laster.
Yes.
Wester.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Welcome aboard, Mr. Perkins.
Welcome to Eagle
And
Nation.
your family.
Madam President, can I just make a comment?
Yes, please.
I think moving into 2024, talking about strategic planning, we really have to watch our words on our district, and we need to speak positive. We're not perfect, but saying nobody wants to come here, or we're this, we're that, if we could just change that tone, because it sets a negative for someone coming here like, wow, who you talk about your district, like, and I'm just saying, we holding each
I'll
other
add. I'm gonna add
accountable,
to
like,
that.
we got to speak positive over our district. We want to move forward. We want to be all of this. We have to change how we are, whether it's the face, whether it's what we say. So we just that's all, because it was just cringy just to hear that, and then we trying to bring somebody on, because I would be like,
Yeah,
maybe I'm going to stay where I'm
absolutely.
at. So
Absolutely.
that's just my my
I
my
appreciate
take.
that.
Congratulations, welcome, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, trustee Laster.
Duly
One
noted.
second, and then we'll get them up there too. So,
Read the next motion.
okay, in my role, it's the reality. Like everybody sees it. Everybody sees it. There's a way that we can do business. We don't have to do it here. Okay, and I always respond when it's me and I say, hey, maybe I could have done better, but sometimes everybody doesn't need to be passive and watch it happen either. Okay, we sit and we watch it. It's predictable. Okay, and it doesn't have to be that way. We got to get better. I'm sorry for that, but I want to introduce you because I'm very excited about you and your family. Okay, Ms. Piles and I we're all right. We're all right. Come on up, please. And your family, please. All right.
Hello, thank you all.
Welcome.
So excited to be here. For those of you who haven't met me yet, my name is Jason Perkins. This is my wife Andrea, my daughter Brooke,
Aye.
son Shane, who's off at college. He couldn't be here tonight. I've been with school districts for about 10 years. I started my journey in Southfield Public Schools. I most recently served as Director of Operations in Dearborn Heights School District number 7, where I was in charge of maintenance, custodial, grounds, construction. I helped run their $6.4 million bond. I oversaw their sinking fund. So I feel like I have the skill set to make a huge impact here in Romulus. I don't know if I'm going to save tons of money right off the bat, but I can promise you that I will give it 110% to look into every process from the operational standpoint that we do here in Romulus schools, and I will give it 110% to dive into those processes, streamline those processes, and hopefully save money along the way. Yes.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome to you and your family. Thank you.
Yeah.
Trustee
Okay.
Kennard,
Yes.
can you please read the next motion, please?
Yes, thank you.
We
Recommended.
want, excuse me, we want you and your wife and your family to leave and say they have passion and grit. Ms. Piles and I, listen, it just is, but we're all right. We're truly all right.
Get you a shirt that
Just
says
is.
Bid Pack 7, hashtag.
End of bid pack 6. What's that? Oh, no, we're definitely passionate at this table. Okay, okay. Yes. And, oh, we know. I know where
Thank
you're,
you.
this is mild.
Thank you. Go, right, go blue.
Trustee Kennard, please read the next
Let's
motion.
get that vote again. Go blue.
Recommended motion.
Point of order.
Recommended motion, move that the Board of Education approves the contract for Mary Randazzo, Administrative Assistant to the Director of Special Services, effective January the 8th, 2024, at a total cost to the district of $70,000. The rationale is to fill an open position, General Fund Budget Implications, number 11, 232-5990-001-000-000. In the board packet, there are, in the exhibits, the contract.
Support.
We have a motion by Kennard. Excuse me. Motion by Kennard, supported by Davis. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I will bring this up to the board. So Mary Randazzo was the bookkeeper, and she's been serving as the administrative assistant to the Director of Special Services, which was Dr. Meese. So she's been in that role 3 months, maybe 4 months, I would say, with the same contract. So we needed to give her the right contract that she has. Everybody else has their contract that says what they're doing, where they're working. We had to make her, her money commensurate with the other administrative assistants, not mine. Hers is on a different level than everybody else's because of who she is. So we put her at the low end of that. But we wanted to give her the right contract that she needed to go forward. And we had the discussion probably 3 or 4 months ago that in the new year that we would do that. We wanted to make sure that she could handle the Director of Special, the work that is required in the Special Services Department, and make sure that she was happy as well. So she indicated that. Again, wanted you to see that, and it's not new. She's been there now for 4 months.
Okay. Madam President, may I?
Yes.
Okay, in terms of the compensation, it says that there's a retention payment, and half it was due December 2023, and the second half is in June 2024. Did she already receive that?
Probably the first half.
Did she-
I
did
think
she
it's like
already
15,
receive-
is it
Yeah, did
15?
she
750?
already-
750,
yeah, did she already
750.
receive that?
Yes, the 750, yes.
Everybody
already- so
received
this
that?
is-
Yes.
Yeah.
They got-
Yes,
okay.
yes.
All
So
right,
she
thank
would
you.
get to 750 the next
Okay.
time.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
And this is aligned with what?
Any other questions? Roll call vote?
Kennard,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Laster,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Piles, yes, Wester.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Dr. Edmondson, the report is on you now. FYI?
The middle school.
Oh, you don't want to do your FYI first?
Yeah. Which one?
You have an FYI before.
Oh, no, okay, so yeah, I was gonna take that off, but, you know, I just want to give you a little heads up, okay? I have not sat down with the parties, but Mr. White indicated that he would like to help out at the high school. For obvious reasons, maybe you don't know, but apparently he and Mr. Petty have been talking, and Mr. Petty said I could benefit from having a little support from Mr. White. Mr. White said he would be glad to do that, but I said I need to meet with them so we can talk about what that looks like. What does that look like? But I'm ecstatic. I think there's a number of us that are ecstatic about his being able to help us for the remaining 4, 5, 6 months before he goes back to Texas. But I'll tell you what he said in his phone call to me. He said the kids at the middle school are accustomed to what we're doing now, and I want to make certain that when they leave the 8th grade, that doesn't get washed out when they go to the high school. I want it to look very similar, so I'm willing to go and help out. He's like, my school is running well, but, and I said, yeah, but you're still going back to that school, to the middle school, a number of days. I said, we just need to talk about what that looks like. I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up because I don't want any parents calling you saying, who's this Michael White over here sending my, I already know. So I wanted to meet with them. I had planned to meet with them. I just was not able to get to it, to be able to meet with them, to have a discussion about what that looks like. I think we would really benefit to have those two gentlemen working together in alignment, making certain that the culture and climate, but particularly the achievement. Michael is really concerned about the achievement, and we should be. So I just wanted to give you a little tidbit. I can tell you in the next 2 weeks, you will absolutely get an update because I don't want any surprises.
Agreed. We agree.
Do two ways.
Thank you.
So that's the FYI on that there.
All right,
Question
Madam
on that,
President,
Dr.
sorry.
Edmondson.
Will we start getting the monthly from the principals, like we talked about last year, like an update?
Oh, yeah. The next one is Rom L. We'll be at Romulus Elementary on the 22nd because they're doing their update. And then we'll go in February, we'll go to somebody else's school. So yes, you will be.
So, Dr. Edmonds, my question on this, and Mr. White has been much appreciated for the work and the progress that's been made at the middle school. Concerns I'll just throw out, so when we come, you bring it back. What, the middle school's doing well, but is it doing well because Mr. White is there? And if he then starts dividing his time, does the middle school fall back and start to lose progress? The other question is could we please have an update on middle school scores and behavior,
Yes.
including suspensions,
Sure.
compared to last year, so we see
Sure.
all of that?
Sure. I can tell you that he called me, I believe it was Friday. I think it was Friday where he called me and said he's excited because this is NWEA time and he's excited to get very thrilled. And I'm like, nobody's happier than me, buddy. So we'll be getting those and I will absolutely get that to you because I want to see. I'm very
Yeah.
curious. Suspension, probably higher. I would guess that it's higher over there. I would guess, but I will get you that information.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just in like an email, is that all right, or you want?
Yeah, just
all
the
want something
data,
like
whatever
this?
format
Okay.
you want,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll
So
get
we
that
can
for
just
you.
see the progress that's
Curious,
happened
too.
under him, yeah.
I'm curious as well.
And because we always hear it takes time to see results, so I want to see, is there measurable progress? And do we risk undoing that if he leaves that building,
Yeah.
since he can't be cloned?
No, I'm like, yeah, but, just with anything, whenever you have leadership, a year is not enough. It's just not enough to sustain. So that we have the position posted. We have the principal position posted. I looked at some of the applications last week, and I will be giving you an update when we just even start moving forward with that. He's not leaving until June, so we're clear.
Thank you for that.
Okay, he's not leaving until June.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the action item for the School Board Recognition Month. Someone like to read that
Is that the
motion?
end of my report? I mean, that really wasn't it. See that right there? I had other things, but I'll wait to the end.
This is part of your report.
Stall out this game. That was one. I'll just stall the game out. That's all good. Yeah, I'll wait to the end.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this was just a FYI for all of you that thinks. First of all, I wanted to acknowledge Mr. Parker and Mr. Thompson here. Our school report cards came out. I hope you gentlemen got to see it. I'm very pleased. The progress, particularly at Hale Creek, and, you know, the consistency that I would say that exists at Barth. Love it. I love what you gentlemen are doing. It's on, I got it in my office. Keep up the great work. As I said, nobody can say that they outperform the school district every year. That's not, we not. And you know, there'll be a sign if one comes up. There can be a counter sign, even though I like to take the offense and not the defense. So I just wanted to thank you two gentlemen for being here. Just for the board, I can't go into great detail because of the nature of it, but there will be a security, what's called it, weapons detection system that we're working on. I've been working with 3 companies, just trying to get information, trying to do what's right. You know what just happened in another Midwest state. We already know the type of society. I want us all to feel protected. I'll be talking to you a little bit more about that, but that's going to be a major purchase. We do have the money in 31AA and some other things. It will be a major purchase, but I don't think that there's any way that, there's no way around it. Okay, I want you all to feel comfortable. I want all the employees and the students, and even this building, because we get the brunt of complaints. They come through here. So you'll be hearing more, but you can't go out there and tell everybody what you have, because then you already know. So that's coming. Again, I brought this up. I don't know how, in this position, what to do. But again, we have to start talking about the bond. The bonds drop off. We have some bonds drop off at the end of this year. So that means, yes, taxes go down a little bit for people. But if we start going for it now, you can go for a greater amount, and it doesn't impact taxes. It won't raise anybody's taxes. It keeps it the same. Okay, once it goes down the end of this year, now you have people who are going to say, now you're going to raise my taxes. And that's a true statement. You would be at that particular point. Got to have the conversation. You know, I think it's wonderful that we're doing a strategic planning process and plan, because I said we have to start, what do we want for the school district? What does the community want for the school district? You know, Trustee Laster was talking about tennis courts and stuff, like we need to repave some things. All of that costs a lot of money, and you just don't have the money to be able to do it. It would come in a bond. So I just want you to start thinking about it, but somebody needs to put the pressure on all of us as the board to say, okay, let's start moving forward with that. We brought you presentations. It's just time to maybe start talking. My worry is that if the bonds drop off, it's hard to tell a taxpayer then, oh yeah, we want you to go back and do another bond, and then everybody's like, well, how much? As opposed to just saying, okay, let's just renew what we have. Okay, so it's just something to think about. Next, we did that. Marching band, you know that there's we're doing a little fundraiser. Please would like to, I'm going to personally outsell Jessie. I can tell you that right now. She has about 150. I have 150 of these bags. I'm ahead of her already. So the band and the marching band and the whole band program better get, I'm doing band versus Edmondson and cabinet. So if you can, we'd like everybody to participate, and if you could give $10 for that cute little bag, it'd be appreciated. Moving forward, we launched our first e-commerce. If you go to our website, there's e-commerce, and you can see that we're selling the bags through PayPal, so people could just do PayPal and get them. But there's going to be more stuff that's coming, more swag for us to wear, and some other things that's all coming, okay? I was fortunate enough to participate as a spectator and a worker at the girls' basketball tournament that showcased so many great teams. I was totally impressed. So you are to be commended for your vision to bring that. I really appreciate it. It was a wonderful tournament. No craziness, nothing but positives, Trustee Laster. Nothing but positives at these games. So I think we're going to move forward maybe next year and do that. So I thank you for the work, and I thank you for the girls that were out there participating and helping out and volunteering, as well as the boys basketball team did the same thing. Mr. Buckley is to be commended, and the whole staff. So the last thing for me, well, second to last, is I want you to think about this. on Friday, I had a kindergarten student, African-American girl. She was precious and smart. In my conversations with Principal Thompson, we had a conversation about who do we lose? What families are we losing? And one of the things that we're seeing is the families whose kids are accelerated. They're going to another district. I'm going to respectfully ask the board to challenge me and my staff to come up with an accelerated school within a school. We can do it within a school. I'm all right with that. Not closing a school and open up an accelerated program, K through 5, in one of our elementary buildings where kids are in an accelerated track. I don't want teacher recommendation. I want accelerated kids to be in there because all I could think of is this little girl gonna leave us. And we can't have that. And this is, to me, part of the strategic plan is that I keep saying, what makes our school district different than someone else's? I don't know. You start putting in good programs, people come back and people start believing in you, and they're like, that's where I want my child to go. If you have grandchildren, some of you have grandchildren in here, some of you are going to have grandchildren, some of you have little babies, okay? I would want to see that for you all and your children, if they met the criteria to be in an accelerated program, K-5. So that's coming. I'd like you to challenge me to do that because I've already talked to my team, 2 of them today, about it, and we're all excited. I know I can get principals. The only thing would be which principal would, I bet they would all want to jump at that one. Like, let me be the first one, K-5. So that's coming. So strategically, I did this. Board appreciation, I figured I'd do last because I thought there might be some fireworks. So I want to do that last and not first. But I just want to,
Maybe there wouldn't be if you did that first.
it's too much. That's just too much. I know, that's how we do it. But listen, I wanted to sincerely thank, there's Wayne Risa. I'll be glad to read it. You know, you all have it. If you want me to read it, I will read it. We all have it. But I'd rather speak from the heart. I'd rather speak from the heart. I'm not going to talk about the past. There's no need. I need to talk about the future. You're the board that I have. You're the board. I'm the guy that you have for, at this point, I am. And you're the board that I have for sure. And I thank you. I thank you for believing in me and my team. I said, listen, just because we argue, that's natural. That's what you.
That's not our.
That's right. Debate, pontificate. We have some pontificators here, whatever you want to say, but,
Clarification.
Passionate,
It's clarification.
there are times where I'm like, I'd trade you for the world. I would. But then there's times that I feel like I would not. We've been through a lot. You know that. Even the new people, we've been through a lot. Okay, but we have so much good ahead of us. So much good ahead of us if we're willing to work together and, and be accountable. And to apologize. I apologize. When I get to 7 to 10, I apologize for it. I wish it didn't happen all the time, but I just want to thank you. It's hard work. It's hard work. It's to our president, I have to say, I'm the one. I call her during work time. I call her at her job. I call her when she's on vacation. It doesn't matter. Being the president, under me, whoever you are, you better expect that, okay? I just don't call you on a Sunday or during your non-work hours. That's not how it works. So on behalf of the entire school district, just want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for your dedication. I want to thank you for the love. I want to thank you for the sacrifice, the time commitment, and you're reading your card, so I'm done. Okay, you don't feel offended if I don't read the, no, not your card. We're not doing all that. We're not doing all that.
Maybe we should read it.
I know. We read mine too.
She didn't. No, that's not. I didn't. No. The most important thing is thank you. That's it. I hope nothing is lost here. Thank you. Thank you for everything that you do. Is that a picture of me there? I'm just curious. Oh, dang. Well, thought it would be a picture for you all.
I'm at a baby shower.
You didn't have 3 of them. You got another one coming? Why is everybody looking at that like y'all don't have one? You're all looking over there.
We're looking at,
Mine's
I'm looking at
It
theirs.
stays neat, we look at theirs.
I like what,
They must have thought this was for you.
Thank you,
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Edmonds.
You're welcome. I didn't listen.
Chasing your Pepsi.
On a serious, I know you know what? It's not just me, it is my team, Okay, we don't always agree, but my team agreed on this.
Thank you, thank you.
Get away to my heart. Thank you so much. You deserve them. You got me forever now.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. It's truly appreciated. It's hard work, but we are a team. We are a team. And we bicker, we go back and forth, but at the end of the day, we're all here for the betterment of our community, our children, and our district. So I want to thank each and every one of you. Thank you, Dr. Edmondson, and the team.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Recommended motion, move that the Board of Education acknowledges that the State of Michigan and the State Board of Education have declared January 2024 as School Board Recognition Month, number 24001. The rationale is board recognition, the budget implications is none, and the exhibit is in the board packet where we have the recognition resolution.
Is there support?
Support.
We have a motion by Kennard, supported by, McCarthy. Roll call vote.
Kennard,
Yes.
McCarthy,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Piles, yes, Laster,
Yes.
Wester,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. Just for the board, that's a nice cooler there, but, you know, when we're on that train ride together, when we're going on our retreat, you cannot transport alcoholic beverages. Just saying. The train, you have to use theirs. I'm just saying.
You have to
And buy them on the train, just so we're clear. We'll see if we come back, from that retreat.
Trustee Kennard, can we read the next motion, please?
Yes, thank you. Recommended motion, move that the Board of Education approves the agreement with Lagarda Security for Romulus Community Schools Security Company from January 15th, 2024 through June 30th, 2024, at the cost to the district of $302,206.92, number 24-002. The rationale is school security. The budget implications is 31A at risk, 11-266-3190-000-000-3064. In the board packet, there are exhibits, professional security officer services contract.
There's support. Support. Have a motion by Kennard, supported by Piles. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
I'm sorry, you got me time to get to my mic. Dr. Edmondson, if you could please give us an update on this, because some costs went up, and I know that you were talking to them, and if we could please have an update on that.
Yeah, just the quick conversation about that was, I did ask why did the money go up, and he said, originally I just split it down the middle. He's like, but now that we actually took the time to look, that there are more days in your second half than there were in the first half. He said, we didn't consider that, but we now have considered it. I'm like, okay.
So my question to that is, when this was brought before us, for them to begin on January 3rd as opposed to January 15th, the cost was $284,169, and now it is $302. So it's just, my concern about this is, as far as this is a 6-month contract, but this was an RFP. So companies submitted bids, and based on the bids and the information that was submitted, an offer was made to this company. Then after the fact, they've increased their price. So we can be looking at something that is illegal and can get us in a lawsuit. That's why I was asking about and this is actually 12 days less than the original contract. And so that would be my concern. And the contract we have still has a date of January 3rd on it as opposed to January 15th. And I know, and I submitted my questions to you on this, so this is not a surprise, and I had requested stuff, but this, again, the contract that was given to us at the special meeting on the first night, there was language in that had said that recognizing the costs incurred and expertise dedicated to LaGuardia Security in selecting, recruiting, and training its personnel. Client agrees to a payment of $5,000 as, I can't read, this is so small. In the event that for each security officer employed directly or indirectly within the first year, if we terminate the agreement, then we have to pay $5,000 per every security officer that they've trained. That's in this. These dates are wrong. The price went up, which could get us into a huge legal predicament. And then these dates, Doc, I'm sorry?
I said, where are you looking at the date at?
The date on the contract we have right here,
The first page.
January 3rd. And then it's on the last page where the signatures go, where we don't have a signed contract, it states January 3rd. That's just like something that should be cleaned up. But my big concern is this went out for a bid. This went out for bid, and after we made the offer, their price went up to $302,000. And then the other two companies that submitted bids, one of them was $388 for the whole year, and another one $49 for the whole year. So I would just like to get some legal feedback on them increasing their price, or else hold them to what they submitted.
Mr. Brock, come on up. Just what we discussed.
I submitted it.
I didn't.
I submitted it. But contracts are forever.
Right.
Keep that in mind, it's 6 months. Okay, what's
y'all
the
going?
question? So as far as their hourly rate or the percentage that they charge, that has not changed for the RFP. So the hourly rate that they're charging, that's stipulated in the RFP, they have to follow that through the RFP. That hasn't changed. But what has changed is we have brought on more employees through EduStaff than we had originally planned prior to the RFP going out. The RFP stipulated how many employees that they might have to hire, which was all the elementary folks, which could have been at a lesser rate, because that's what the RFP stipulated. But because we hired them and brought them on prior to this engagement, we paid them more because that's how we got them onboarded. So that also, I'm guessing, would have increased that price. I don't know to what degree, but because he had asked me for an update, they're gonna have to hire 2 guards at the lesser rate, where they would have hired more guards at the lesser rate, which I'm guessing would have impacted the price as well. It's a 6-month contract. We need a security company. I added the language that you asked for. I ran it by legal also. I'll be real honest with you. LaGuardia said that they don't normally sign a contract that has a specific number in it. I ran that by legal, and our legal said that's not typical, because when there's an RFP, they follow the RFP, and how they bid on it is a bid. It's a bid price. What changes are, the changes that occur are several changes throughout the year. It could be, I need a guard to work a football game, or I need a guard to flex their schedule. All the things I think that you asked for, I have included and run them through legal. I've had, I was on the phone on Friday with Mr. Schindler, running this by him. So the language that has been included in the cost estimate has also been shared with LaGuardia, saying, would you sign this? Because LaGuardia said, if you put a number in there, I mean, it's halfway through the year. It's more than halfway through the year. It's, well, almost halfway through the year for them. He said, I don't know if my attorney would let me sign it with that number in it. But there has to be some language in there.
Where is that? Because we didn't request a number. We just
You
requested.
requested a cost to be included in the contract, period, is what you asked for.
Okay, well, the first
At the
contract.
special
that-
meeting, you asked me for a
Yes.
cost.
So the first contract, yeah, because that was in the motion. It was in the motion, but not in the contract. So if we're going to vote on a motion that says X amount of dollars, that X amount of dollars should also be in the contract. And if a company has trouble putting that in, then we should think about
Well,
that.
I don't want to say a company has a problem putting that in, but as you've stated, we're part of the way through the year.
But I did not request a certain number of security guards, so let's not state that.
I
My-
didn't say you did.
Okay, so yes, I did state that the cost of the contract be in the contract. I think that's reasonable. But the contract that was brought to us that would have gone into effect on January 3rd, and the contract that's before us tonight, that still reads January 3rd, but we mean January 15th, has the exact same number of security guards.
It does.
No, so you said that they
But
had to
no,
change it.
They have to change it because in the RFP, you're not,
Okay, I
we
want.
put this out
right,
for bid. We had guards at the high school and guards at the middle school, period. That was it.
Yes,
In the RFP, I included for them to hire guards at all 4 elementaries as well as RECC.
right.
They were not hired. When this body decided to not appoint a security company, Dr. Edmondson and the cabinet decided to move forward with hiring folks through EduStaff. We paid them more through EduStaff per the RFP. If they are our employee or are considered our employee, they have to incur those costs. LaGuardia does. If LaGuardia hires them, LaGuardia gets to hire them at between $16 and $18 an hour. If they're our employee, it's $18 to $20 an hour. So we've hired now 3 of those guards of the 5 that needed to be hired, which is going to change the cost of the original RFP, or the original cost of their bid.
So I want to make sure I understand correctly. So between a start date of January 3,
No, between September and January now, we have hired additional guards through EduStaff, costing more money.
that's fine. So between September and January. However, when this was brought to us to go into effect on January 3rd, after all those had been hired, the cost was $20,000 less than it is today.
And I think you were given an explanation.
Not, I don't understand this, no. No, you can't, that's the whole thing of an RFP. You can't submit a bid, and then when the client said, oh, yeah, we want you, jack us for more. That's illegal.
No, nobody's jacking anybody for more. He's now breaking it down by every day. He's bidding based now on what's left of the year and the number of guards we currently have.
Right.
That's nothing is illegal
The
about
same,
that.
the
Nobody's
same
gouging
number of guards
anything.
we had he have started on January 3rd. We don't have more guards. We were on break. That's why we couldn't get contracts. But people were starting? I mean,
guess
come
I don't know
on.
what you mean by more guards.
Okay, so
What he did when he
on
originally gave me
January
the-
3rd, we were going to be able to get this deal for $284,169.20 on January 3rd. Now, today, on January 8th, the cost of the same services is $302,206.92. Because we hired guards between September and January?
No,
That does
so-
not make sense.
You're right, and I agree with you 100%. I think, as Dr. Edmondson has told you, I think what he did when I was asking that day for a number to get put in the contract as you requested, he split it down the middle because he considered it halfway through the year. What he told us today is he sat down and did the number of days, so that number would have been wrong. We would have had to amend the contract. I would have had to come back to you and said, the contract is wrong once that contract had been approved. This number is now from January 15th through the end of the year with the number of guards we've hired and the additional guards they still have to hire, the 2 guards.
Okay, so, yeah, well, so then we're working with a company that may or may not get amounts right? Anyway, my other question is in this contract, we have, okay, notices. It talks about where notices get sent. To the district, there's our information, to Kevin Brock, Director of Human Resources, this address. To the company, it's blank. The other thing in here is, there's language that states that the contracts can be terminated without cause with a 60-day or 30-day. Oh, here it is. It says, the district will have the right to terminate this agreement without cause upon 60 days of advanced written notice to the contractor. Okay, so that leads me to believe that for any reason, without cause, we could terminate this with 60 days' notice. But then the next paragraph reads that if either party violates this or there's a breach of contract, then either party can terminate the contract in accordance with this procedure. The non-defaulting party has to give the offending party 30 days written notice and an opportunity to remedy the violation. If they remedy the violation, then you can't terminate the contract. But what about you can terminate it without cause? And then it goes on to say the defaulting party gives 15 days notice of termination, and if they don't, then it's considered rescinded. There's contradictory language in here, and this isn't against you. This is because this Board of Education has been caught up in this loop with contracts that aren't clear. I don't anticipate us terminating it, but why does it contradict itself?
Just did our legal look at it?
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
So,
Okay, when we try to play lawyer, that becomes the problem, when you try to play lawyer.
No,
That's why you
no.
go to a lawyer and attorney. Yes, you do.
okay, so Dr. Edmondson, yes, a lawyer did review it. When?
And
The
does the lawyer
associate-
have
the
our best
associate who
interest? Does the lawyer have our best interest?
Yes, I would hope so.
Yes, exactly.
Some of them have, some of them
Exactly.
have. But the lawyer reviewed this.
And
The
it's
lawyer
fine.
reviewed this when it went out for RFP.
And says it's
And
fine.
all of this was part of the RFP.
And says it's
But-
fine.
Okay, that's the
That's what I'm
RFP,
saying. It
Dr.
says it's
Edmondson.
fine.
No, because this is, okay, we just got jacked for another $20,000 by a company with a contract that is not, it says January 3rd, that can't do math.
Listen,
And now we're just
listen,
supposed
I'm
to
gonna
say
that,
yes,
and I'm
or
gonna
else
say
we're not
we've had
supportive?
attorneys that we paid a ton of money, and guess what? We didn't do what they were supposed to say. To what cost? Much more.
No.
When
This
you
was
have
for
an
the
attorney,
RFP.
you listen to your attorney. It doesn't.
So an
listen,
attorney doesn't catch dates and numbers?
I'm okay with, if you call the vote and you don't
I
do it,
know.
then we don't do it.
I'm just saying, like,
We
why
don't, I
can't?
don't want anything to happen to kids, period. I'm like,
Right,
I don't
right.
have, we gone back and forth. It's been a whole month.
But Dr. Edmondson,
And we
why
still
can't
not
we,
giving you
why
what you
can't
want,
we
but the
take
rest
care
of
of
the
kids?
board.
And why can't we have strong security and still do stuff without errors all through it? I mean, are they, can
Listen,
we have them
again-
both, or do we have to choose either or?
I mean, when you say that, I mean, all I can think of is, again, that's why I have an attorney, my attorney's job, and that's what I was told by our attorney. No matter what you do as an attorney, our job is to fix it, whatever the problem was, particularly if it's your problem, if you did it. Even if we told you not to do it and you did it, we've got to undo it. That's why you have an attorney. If the attorney says it doesn't look good, it's not right, then you know what, we stop. If they're like, hey, it looks good, and it's a 6-month contract anyway, okay. I mean, I'm just saying, we knew this was coming up, and I think part of the thing is, out of all, well, I'm not gonna say all due respect, that cliche, is that we continue to go through this. I mean, over and over and over, we've had a whole month to do it. Now what? So we still don't get it done, something happens, God forbid, then what? Oh, gee.
That's so unfair,
mean,
because
no, it isn't
we've had a
unfair. It
security
isn't
audit
unfair.
that
It
I've been
isn't unfair.
requesting a
Point of
closed.
order. Point of order.
I've been requesting a closed session for 10 months, because there's some alarming things in that. So do not insinuate, I don't care about safety. I do, which is why I believe that we need to
Insinuate that you
tighten
didn't
this up.
care. I didn't insinuate
And if this
that.
is so important, I mean, my questions are so predictable. I asked them at 2 previous meetings, I send them in an email,
If it was
no
that easy,
surprises.
Debbie, if it was
but-
that easy,
So if
then
the
that
attorney
would be
can
an
look through
anomaly.
stuff,
This would be an anomaly if that's how your questions worked.
no.
This would be an
my-
anomaly, but
no.
it's not.
The attorney reviewed the RFP. And after the RFP, a contract then that is drawn up to fit the needs of the district and goes back to legal. Okay, blow it off then. Let's not care. Let's just keep putting the district in
Trustee
trouble.
Kennard,
I'd
did you
rather
have
do that
something?
than to get somebody
Point of
killed.
order.
Yeah, let's just, yeah.
I'd rather do that than get
Let's
somebody
not-
hurt.
let's not think.
Madam President and Mr. Brock, I think the concerns that our trustee has are valid, okay? And looking at it from a fiscal responsibility, in contract negotiations and writing contracts, the time period between January 3rd to January the 8th with the increase of that magnitude, I'm not clear on the rationale in terms of how they derived at that. Now, I did hear that it was because of they're looking at it currently at the days. Okay, at the days. So I guess to me, that question would be, why weren't they looking at, even though it was from September to whatever, they should have, why are we switching up in how we're looking at the cost? It should be consistent. And if they came to the table with the board with whatever the process they utilized then, they should be using the same process now. So that's where I'm stuck with. I do understand and realize that we need what we need here, okay? And if that can be cleared up, okay, Madam Trustee, and some of your concerns, that we can move forward. So I'm not looking at the fact that this will hinder, rationality in my vote or anything, and I'm not trying to convey to anyone else what they should do or think. But for clarification, looking at it from a fiscal responsibility, which this board is mission to do, is to look at those things more in depth, to give a clarification and understand that if a vendor is coming to us and their obligation and making sure that it's consistent. Also, legal did look at this from what I'm understanding. Maybe sometimes legal look at things and, they're not catching things or those types of questions. But if you can clarify that, and then from that we can make a decision or have some type of other conversation in terms of how this can be clarified in terms of what we have to do now.
Yeah, so I'm not sure I can answer the question on January 3rd, why it was 284 and now it's 302. I can't answer that question. I called and asked for an estimate on what it would cost to put in the contract because that was what was requested of me to get. My only educated guess would be that he halved the contract thinking that we were almost halfway through the year. These numbers that were given today are consistent with what was provided in the RFP. His hourly rate hasn't changed. The percentage that they charge as a company has not changed. What has changed are the number of guards that we have hired since September. I can't speak to why it was different on January 3rd. I don't have that answer. I'm not in LaGuardia. I didn't question it. I called him. I said, can I get a price of what it would cost for the remainder of the year? And he provided me with that cost. When I contacted him on Friday, I said, listen, I need a breakdown of costs from now until the end of the year. I gave him the number of guards we've hired. I gave him all the information he requested. He sent over a quote or a bid, and I said, I'm going to put this number in the contract. And I said, along with language that allows flexibility, after speaking to Bob Schindler, because I wanted flexibility in that contract to be changed if so needed, if we had to flip people's. To Secretary Piles' point, she wanted flexibility in the contract. I asked Mr. Schindler to help me draft some language around that. I can't speak to why the cost is different. I can make an educated guess, but I don't want to do that either because Secretary Piles likes to hold me accountable for making an educated. I can't speak to why LaGuardia did that. I don't know why. I have no idea. All I can say is now the bid that he sent over is absolutely consistent with how they bid the project back in September. It's a different world. We have inflation. I mean, even just in the last 5 months, things have gone up. However, the pricing that he's provided from now until the end of the year is consistent with what he provided as a bid back in September when they submitted bids.
He did say when we called today in Houston. When we were in Houston, he said more days. That's what
He did
said.
say more
He did.
days, but.
I'm just saying.
But
so
what the
he
question
did say.
is between January 3rd and now.
I don't know that.
What
but
the
I said,
difference
you
is.
heard
in-
me say right there. Why the increase?
Yes, absolutely. Neither one of us knew why the increase.
But we asked, and
But
he
we
said
did
there
ask,
are
and he
more
said there are
days.
more days in the second semester. Does that constitute the totality of the 18 or 20 grand? I don't know.
I just wanted to
didn't-
clear that up because
Yeah.
we did make that
We
call.
did
And I
ask.
didn't want anybody looking at me like, you just said you were right there when we called. And
Wasn't this
were
the
you there?
cost?
President,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as we sit up here, someone that has a child that attends a school in a district, I don't think it's fair to say we don't care about safety, because even if we don't have a child that attends, or we care about all the kids, all the staff, the safety. And to sit up here and vote on a contract is difficult because I've done it before. You get talked about, people don't like it. Soon as something happens, they come attack you if you do right or wrong in the way. But also, we are fiscally responsible to look at things. And yes, a lawyer may have looked over it, but at the end of the day, our names are signed, sealed, and delivered on this. When they look back at the ledger of what we did, it's us. So not saying you or anything. I'm just like, the pressure of, oh, you don't care about kids or vote how you vote. It's not that easy. Security, we need it, of course, but we also need to be right with how we're voting and what's in this contract, the amount, because how can you just jump up to, I mean, I said on the I'm on the HR subcommittee. I heard the stuff. I was in part of the interview, but this is a big gap. So if we would have signed it back then, contractually, you would have had to go with that amount.
Yep.
So it's just kind of like
And I'll tell you that they would have added language for flexibility.
for like days and things like that, but it's just kind of,
But they hadn't. If we would have approved that one, that wasn't in there.
Point of order.
I'm sorry.
that's all I had to say. Sorry.
Well, Madam President, I would just, I mean, if we're going to approve a contract, basically, we should have correct dates.
I absolutely can correct the dates. The dates are not an issue. That's on me. I apologize, but I thought I caught all the dates, but I did not. I see the one at the bottom, January 3rd. Those can be corrected. I'm not at all concerned about the dates in the contract. I think those are easily solvable.
And Mr. Brock, the reason why, I mean, if you look at notices, point 10, where it has notices shall be provided at the following respective addresses, I'm not just trying to be contentious when to the contractor is left blank. We had an experience here where we had leased a building of ours for, I know, like $1 essentially free. And the agreement was that this group would pay the utilities. But there was specific language about how those utilities would be, the bills would be submitted to that group. And it wasn't laid out in the contract clear. There was information missing just like this. So they didn't pay it, and they won. So it's like, if it's important enough to put where notices will be sent, why is that blank? It's just things like that where I've learned from experience here. And yeah, I can say, oh, well, let's just trust. But again, why do we just keep doing the same things over and over out of trust? At what point do we say, man, we got our tails burnt 4 times. Let's not do it a 5th.
Mr. Brock, with the correction of the dates, because seems like it was oversight. because
That's my
I saw-
oversight.
I saw they were changed inside the contract.
Yep.
Can we have the contractor's address added to that
Yes.
page?
Yeah,
so that we can
absolutely.
move forward.
That's not an issue. The things that are being pointed out are not an issue. They can be added or changed. I had, in our conversation today with Lagarda, they're very flexible. I'm happy to add that in there. I'm happy to change the dates. There's not, what you're bringing to my attention is not an issue. It's not about trust, it's not an issue. I will happily add that in there. This contract was a part of the RFP. Every company that bid on this RFP had that very same contract. That's why it's blank. I haven't put a company in there because you haven't approved anybody yet. Once you approve them, I'll put them in there. I'll change the dates. It's not an issue.
Madam
I'm
President.
happy to do that.
And also, can you get an explanation so we can be clear on, it's approximately $18,000 K difference. Can you get a clarification on the reasoning for that?
I can.
When he comes back.
And
That's what he
Mr.
said.
Yeah, and Mr. Brock, and that's why, when we come back to this contract that would have been effective January 3rd for the $20,000 less, they couldn't have come back and got more. They would be bound by that because there is no flexibility clause in here.
They would not have signed it with just 280. They would not have signed, no company that I know of will sign a contract at this point of the year with a number in there, and that's the only amount because now we're held to that. We can't have any flexibility.
So who came up with this number? You said they did.
They came up with the number, but what I'm saying to you is he was not aware that it was going into a contract. I told him it's in the contract, and when he saw the contract, he was like, my attorney's never gonna let me sign that contract. There's no flexibility for them or us. So I called Mr. Schindler on Friday, when you want the number in there, Mr. Schindler even said, if he was my client, I would not advise him to sign that contract with that number at this time of the year. There's too many variables. There's too many things that could change. We added the flexibility language, which goes along with what you were asking, flexibility on all of our parts. It has to be a contract good for both the contractor
I
and
get that.
us.
And it wasn't me, it was the board that wanted to
You were
say.
requesting it.
Right, but the board agreed, if we have a game
We're
and it's
requesting
a big rival, right? And we don't need we don't need this many in this building, could we have the flexibility to have them work the same hours, but come later and cover that game? Anywho, I'm
We have
talking
that
about
in there.
on January 3rd, so you're saying you asked them to provide a number, and they did?
That's the number I was provided.
They provided you a number and then later said, oh, So they'll tell you that and let you think that, but as soon as they find out it's going in a contract, oh, no, we want to put a
So you're
different number in the
making s-
contract.
You're insinuating.
No,
to
I'm,
use
I'm,
your
I'm, try-
word,
I'm trying to
that
say,
this
is that
Point
what
of
you said?
order.
President, point of order.
Point of order. Is there any other conversation or questions from any other board members?
Yes, I have a quick question.
Quick question.
As it relates to our ambassadors, are they going to be hired in through the company or grandfathered in? Will they have to go through a new hiring process, background checks? What happens with them?
Yes to all of that, so they will be hired in as this company's employee. They will be their employee. Yes, they have to go through their background checks. Yes, they will have to be, go through all of that because that's based on the contract and RFP that I put forth. However, this is the only company I think that we interviewed that would allow for us to make a decision if somebody didn't meet the criteria for them, for us to move forward. They've been with us, they're our person, we'll sign off for, they're the only ones that we interview that have a specific, I don't know what it is for their contract with the state, but the state allows them the flexibility for us to say, so-and-so's been with Romulus or been with EduStaff and with Romulus for 5 or however long, we want to keep that person. No matter what their credentials look like, if they don't pass the background or can't pass the minimum requirements for the company. They were the only ones that said, we'll do it. We'll let you keep them.
Okay.
So,
And none of our
yes.
ambassadors are skilled enough to be like a director of security where
Oh, I
they could
didn't-
like,
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
just asking, as opposed to just seeking out contracting our security, could we not have our own in-house security? Is that like, are they, what's the deal with that?
I mean, we could. So to answer your first question, I don't know. I don't know if I can answer, I don't know if I can answer the question whether or not we have somebody in-house that can do that job. We have some very talented folks that work for us. I don't know if that exists amongst that talent. So I wouldn't feel comfortable answering that question. Can we do in-house? Yes, we can. There's a cost to doing that. So this is a cost-saving measure. When you third-party contract something, they now pick up FICA retirement. When we pick it up in-house, it becomes more of a cost to the district.
Thank you.
Roll call vote, please.
I'm sorry, can we see in this, can we please see in this where, because I had read in the RFP that it said they will hire our ambassadors if they meet that criteria that the company has. I did not see what you just stated, that even if they don't, they'll keep them anyway. Can you show us where that is, please, so that we have that confidence? Because I read the opposite in here. I'm looking for it now.
Madam President, I recall when we had the presentation that the gentleman said that our current ambassadors will have the opportunity, the first opportunity to be considered if they met the criteria. That's what was spoken before us. So that means that there are certifications and there are certain types of trainings that has to happen, and they was going to allow for that opportunity for our people to do that.
It's right here. Yep.
So that's what I understood. And
Yep.
I don't know if it changed, but that was what was conveyed to the board at that time.
Well, it was asked during the HR subcommittee, that question was specifically asked, what happens if somebody does not meet the minimum requirements? But they worked for us for a long time. We asked every company that, somebody asked that question, maybe it might have been you, trustee Lester, but the question was asked because we might have some of our folks who portions of that background or portions of their minimum requirements, they might not pass. But yet they've been good employees to the district, and we would like to keep them.
Are those employees, are they under, they're EduStaff? They are EduStaff.
So I don't know why, I don't see why they wouldn't meet the minimum requirements. They've already gone through background checks. But you never know, between the time they entered in that EduStaff and the time they are now, I don't know.
You don't have to
Right.
go any further.
So Mr. Brock, yeah, and I know, like, if we think, even if it's not guaranteed, as long as we know that, right? Because what they wrote in here is, we plan to retain all 8 of the district's ambassadors on the condition these individuals are in compliance with the requirements within the RFP, including background searches, training certification, which we know they do not have, drug testing along with other requirements. So that clause right there on the condition means it is conditional. We know they don't have training, which is why we're going with a security company. And again, if that's what it is, that's fine, but let's just be honest and let's make a decision based on truth.
So I resent that. I absolutely
That's
resent that
fine.
you get up here and you have the, I'm gonna be nice about it.
No.
That you would even say that about truth. I mean that, about truth.
We're
that you
being
would-
told, yes, they're gonna keep them all. It says right here, no, it's
I
conditional.
know, we all heard the same thing. Okay, we all heard the same thing. We probably got it on video too.
Good.
We all heard the same thing. We've all made it very clear that these are our people. Okay, they work for another company. We want them to work here. We don't want to mess with anybody's money. I sat down with the entire ambassadors to say, nobody's ever going to mess with your money. Never let that happen, ever. Okay, my goal was I wanted to hire an additional 2. I didn't want LaGuardia picking the last 2. If we have people in the community that can get a job, I want to get them. They want to pay, when I saw it, I'm like, $16 to $18? What? Oh, absolutely not. I would never do that. I would try to hire somebody in this community that wants to work for us at $20 an hour, and they're still us, no different than EduStaff. It's still us. They still feel like us. I'm not treating them differently, okay? And there's some accountability that I can't add. So if somebody asks me, can you do it internally, not one of our ambassadors is a police officer, or was, okay? I don't know if any of them really know about real security. I don't. I stay in my lane. I have no idea. I'd rather have a, but you didn't. You said to him, right?
No,
You said to
I
him.
just said.
And I took
what-
it as
I
different.
said what
got it.
something is, it is, but let's make decisions on
Right,
truth
but-
and
right,
honesty.
so you were talking about that guy,
I'm
not
talking
here.
about
I thought it
information.
here.
I'm talking about- yeah.
So, you see me? I said I thought you meant here. That's why I said I take exception.
Okay.
But you were talking about that guy said, and it says something different there.
Thank
I think
you.
everyone
it.
should be
Roll
honest.
call
Got
vote,
it.
please.
Got it.
We're on a roll call vote.
Hiles,
Wanna start that
no.
word over?
Davis,
Yes.
Laster,
No.
McCarthy,
No.
Kennard,
Abstain.
nope, she can't.
I know.
Wester,
Yes.
motion fails.
That's it. There's no direction to move forward with it, so.
We still need safe buildings. And and what I do trust is that this team can make that happen while having transparency and details tightened up.
Thank you. Thank you. Report of the subcommittee.
I'm reporting for the policy committee. I think we had an impactful and beneficial policy meeting today. We have a first reading of our revised reissue board policy number 1001, compensation and reimbursement of expenses. I will read it. 1001, organization and functioning of the board, compensation. Board members will be paid a stipend of $3,600, paid at $900 per quarter to each board member. Total compensation for the board, including the maximum amounts to be paid to individual board members, shall be set annually by the board. I have a recommended motion here, but I believe it needs to be updated under the rationale. Best practices used on the recommendation of the policy committee as opposed to Miller Johnson.
Did you read the motion?
Yes. Recommended motion, move that the Board of Education approves the first reading of revised, reissued board policy number 1001, compensation, reimbursement of expenses, number 24-003, rationale, best practices based on the recommendation, do I say policy? Of the policy committee, budget implications, general fund, 11-232-5990 001-00-000.
Support,
Okay, just making sure.
Lester, say
Somebody might try to
support.
steal it.
support, yeah. 0, 0.
Madam Vice President, Laster, when you read this off, what we have here is the revision for compensation. Policy 1001 has multiple parts, and as you read it, what did you say?
Compensation?
You said, no, you said compensation, expenses, and something else. But yeah, if we can just, if it's just compensation.
Got it.
That was supported by Laster, but her mic is up.
Support again.
And for future reference, don't read any account numbers, right? Don't read the account numbers. Right. Striking that.
So we have a motion by Vice President McCarthy, supported by Trustee Laster. Any discussion? Roll call vote?
McCarthy,
Yes.
Laster,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Piles, yes, Kennard,
Yes.
Wester,
Yes.
motion carries.
Report of the Board President. I just want to say Happy New Year to everyone. Hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season with their family. Glad to see everyone back. I want to thank Dr. Leopold for coming out and giving us the presentation on the strategic planning. Looking forward to working with him on that. Also looking forward to our board retreat, which is coming up in February, February 16th through the 18th. So looking forward to that, so we can, and thanks to, to Vice President Piles working alongside of Dr. E to get this scheduled for the board. Looking forward to looking forward to moving 2024 forward. Like we said, security is a must. We need to work on making sure that our children, our district is safe, because what happened that could happen anywhere. So we need to make sure that when we bring the things to the table, that we do have all the documentation that we need so that we can move our district forward without the going back and forth, for lack of better words, just to make sure that, you know, like we say, we're here for the kids. So to move forward. That's it for me now. I'm gonna, Treasurer Davis, would you like to say anything? Trustee Laster.
Happy New Year. Thank you for coming.
Trustee Kennard.
I would like to say Happy New Year, and to all of my board members here. We trust that you had a enjoyable holidays and you all look great. I would like to say that and remind those who are not aware of the fact, but we as a board, when we vote and when we make our decisions and votes, we're voting as a whole, as one. There's no one individual. We may have differences of opinions, we may have differences of communications and so forth, but when we have to make clarifications, and as was stated here a few minutes ago, that when we get advice from legal, and we have audits and so forth, and we get information that comes before the board, we make those decisions, we stand by those. They're not independent decisions, and they're not decisions that come before us that are not factual. And I can't speak for anybody else, but I can speak for myself, that when information comes to me and I'm looking at it and I'm doing my due diligence, I'm doing it in the best interest of the district. I'm looking at it from a fiscal responsibility and what's thus as our legal recommendation. And if we have to bring information back, Madam President, we've gotten questions about some of the decisions that we've made, and I don't know if we as a board want to bring that information back and forth, so for the clarification, or should we be handling it with the individual themselves? So what I'm saying is that we as a board need to probably look at that, and if there's something that we need to bring forth for clarification so that the public can have a clear understanding, okay, in terms of how we as a board make our decisions, not on an independent basis. And so I just want to make sure that that those who are having questions about certain things understand that we can clear this up if it needs to be cleared up, not as an independent, but as a board as a whole.
Thank you. Thank you, Secretary Piles.
Happy New Year. Fresh starts are always exciting, but old habits die hard. But I believe that we are committed to meaningful change in 2024. And although the fruits may not have showed tonight, Dr. Edmondson, I appreciate the time we've spent talking, and I've submitted my questions, concerns, and gotten answers back so that we can do less and less of this at the table. I do appreciate, I appreciate the efforts, and I remain committed to that, working better with you. I am requesting that the Board of Education have a closed session for the purpose of reviewing the security audit we got, and I would like that put in the record, please. That the Board of Education, that we review, we do need a security, we need a firm, we need whatever security is going to be, but we need an understanding of where our weaknesses are as a board. And we have that was provided, and we need to discuss that and be aware of where our weaknesses are. Again, I hope that we can begin to learn our roles and our lanes, and that the board supporting documentation for motions is part of a board lane, and not be attacked or shamed for asking for that. And it is not a matter of trusting or not trusting. It's a matter of, we don't need to just know how we're voting, but we need to be able to know why and give an account for why we vote the way we do. And trust is not enough to go on. And because we get told things and then find out they're not so, that doesn't make it distrust, that the reason why we request information. But again, when these cycles are repetitive, we have to start doing something different. And if we're going to talk about legal, because I'm very disheartened, on December 11th, a motion came to the board to authorize the use of a new law firm for the purpose of upcoming negotiations. And part of that board vote was clearly stated that before this started, the board would set parameters, we would have stuff, and then this firm would be brought in. We passed that motion on December 11th, yet we have paid this firm and accept somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 for legal services that began back in September, when that was not a board-authorized firm. So when we talk about trust, let's not beat me down because I asked questions. That's not a cover, that's not going to work, because I'm going to keep coming with the same questions. Because we are accountable, and I make mistakes, but one thing I can say is I hold myself accountable for what I say and do and how I vote. And I will not make uninformed decisions, because that is not in the best interest of the district. And the minute I do, I'm no longer worthy of the seat that I sit in.
Thank you. Vice President.
Eagle Nation, Happy New Year. Thank you for coming. I feel very happy sitting up here, surviving 1 year on the School Board of Education. Treasurer Davis, Trustee Laster, not so bad for some first-timers. Yeah. Keep up the great work. I want to give a special thank you and shout out to our other board members, Trustee Kennard, Secretary Powles, President Wester, and Trustee Evans. You guys are pretty much raising us on the board, and we are learning a lot from you every day, and I appreciate you and all your knowledge, your patience. Believe it or not, I actually do learn a lot from each of you from the way that you handle yourself, carry yourself, how you are fiscally responsible, how you are committed to data and policy. It makes me want to be a better board member. So thank you. I appreciate you all. Go Blue.
Dr. Edmondson.
Winter Institute 2024 board members, you're informed now. Have a great day, everyone. Go Blue.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor? 7:57.